Oh, hello. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the Shatterpoint organised play scene in the UK, and then have a little bit of a rant about the UKTC, that's the UK tournament circuit. I don't like making videos like this that are sort of negative, and that's why kind of having this video lodged in my mind has meant that I've not been making as much other content for the channel, because I kind of knew that I had to get this one out. I am going to start in general terms, and I'm going to get to the kind of slightly drama-y bit towards the end. Hopefully you'll stick with me for that, and I hope if sometimes these kind of videos really take off, and I hope if you're clicking on this for the first time, you don't assume that my whole channel is this kind of negative stuff, because it really isn't. So, we're going to start about what organised play is for Star Wars Shatterpoint and what it looks like, and generally speaking, Atomic Mass Games supports organised play on two levels. This is not their terminology, this is my terminology to try and explain it to you. There's essentially the store level and the convention level, and both of these different levels have various prize packs, but the packs work a little differently. So they have their stuff that's aimed at a gaming store running an in-store tournament, 8, 16 players, that kind of thing. And they sell various kits. Some of them are sold as league kits, and some of them are sold as tournament kits. Generally speaking, at least here in the UK, all of them are mainly associated with one-day tournaments, even the ones that are labelled as league kits. There's not a rule that it has to be used for a league, that's just vaguely its intent. There have been 3 league kits and 1 tournament kit since the AMG started the programme, and the desire and here from AMG is to support in-store smaller events. So to get one of these kits, you purchase it through, if you're a friendly local gaming store, you purchase it through Asmodee for some money, right? And then the idea is that rather than selling the stock, you give it away to attendees at one of your tournaments, but you've charged some money for the ticket for the tournament, and so that's why it makes a decent business case. You get more people to come to your tournament, right? And you recoup the cost of the kit. This, by the way, this hasn't been widely shared yet, so I'm putting this on here as well in case you haven't seen it. This is the latest league kit. It's very funny to me because, of course, the Death Trooper and Seven Scorch and, of course, Baze and Turret are really popular units and quite sought after kind of things, I'm sure, for foil cards, and they're all part of the participation prizes. And the actual price for coming in the top 4 and for winning is, if you come in the top 4, you get a special version of the Savage Press card. Now, even when I was playing a lot of Separatists, Savage Press is not good. So he's not a very well regarded piece. So you've got Savage Press at the top 4, you get a second foil Savage Press card with the top 4 logo on, and the winner gets a foil Savage Press character card, which is just kind of funny. That's store level support so far, so simple, and I need to explain convention level support. So the convention level support is otherwise known as the GT kit. Right, so these are bigger kits of goodies provided for free to the events. The events apply for them, and if you are successful in an application, AMG sends you this stuff out of its marketing budget, right, off for you to have for free to give away at your event. And so this year's kit, it was there were 4 Shatterpoint cards, alt art Shatterpoint cards, everybody got those. 2 stickers, everybody got those. A bunch of attack and defense dice in different colours, everybody got those. And then if you were in the top 8, you got some character foils. And then if you're in the top 4, I think it is, you got some objective markers as well as your character foils. And then if you're in the top 2, you got some measuring doodads, movement doodads. I think it's movement and measuring doodads, or it might just be one or the other, as well as the of course the foils and the objective tokens. And then if you were the winner, you also got all of the above. And sorry if I hit the mic. You got all of the above and an acrylic struggle tracker. Right. So not like you're not getting hundreds of pounds or a gold bar, but you're getting more desirable stuff from these GTs. Now, you have to apply. You can't just buy them. You have to apply to be a GT. And I've put there's the whole website on AMG that you can read for all the different requirements, but I just thought I'd copy-paste the base requirements. So it has to be held in person at a legitimate public venue. Okay, so it has to be not in your house and not on TTS. It has to be open to the public, so it can't be an invitational. It confused me for the longest time. There's a big American tournament called the Zion's Finest Invitational. It's just a normal GT. You can go and buy a ticket. Invitational generally means that you have to be invited in order to get to go. So that always threw me listening to podcasts. But anyway, the event must have at least 32 players. Now, we're going to look in a minute at the UK GTs from this year. Only 2 of them hit that 32 player mark, I think. Right? Many of them didn't. There's a couple of ways of looking at this. There's one part of me that worries that, like, somewhere like GriffCon that didn't get 32 players, if they apply again to do a GT, they'll be turned down on the basis of that. There's part of me that reads it as you've got to have the tables and the terrain and the space for 32 players, but if you don't actually sell 32 tickets, as long as you have 32 tickets available, that counts. And there's part of me that also wonders if they're going to be a bit more flexible in the UK because they want to grow their market share in the UK compared to in the US where they've got a bigger market share. I don't know how much of that is true. But what they say is you have to have at least 32 players. It has to be within the seasons, though, between May and January 26-27. You have to have 1 dedicated judge per 16 players. I think. I've never noticed events having more than 1 judge, but maybe they have. Judges can't play, which is, I think, is a silly rule because my preference always for any event is if there's an odd number of players due to a drop, is for there to be a spare player who maybe plays a less competitive list in order to make sure that everybody gets a game, because the most important thing to me is if I've paid for 5 games of Shatterpoint, I want to play 5 games of Shatterpoint, win or lose. That's my way of looking at it. You have to follow the Grand Tournament rules packet in its entirety. There are some little wrinkles in the Grand Tournament rules packet. It means that it has to be over 2 days. Like, that has to be over 2 days. And it has to have no 3D printed third-party proxies for the miniatures as well. There are some little weird bits in the official rules packet. I think that's basically it. You got to have terrain, and they've got to do like a battle report apparently. So if you perform that, you apply, you're accepted, then you can call yourself a grand tournament. Yeah? Okay. So what were the UK Grand Tournaments 24-25? So the season that's now finished, these were the official Grand Tournaments that happened, okay? As far as I can tell. So if there's a Grand Tournament that happened in the UK that I've missed, please let me know. So UK Games Expo. UK Games Expo was the first event kicking off the year. I wasn't massively into Shatterpoint when the opportunity arose to go to UK Games Expo, so I didn't attend. Now, UK Games Expo always kicks off the event. UK Games Expo is very special because AMG are actually there in the UK. So Will Schick, right, basically the lead dev for Shatterpoint, was at UK Games Expo answering questions about Shatterpoint, which is pretty cool. They also... UK Games Expo has a big Asmodee presence as well, so you can buy... It's the only place in the UK, I believe, where you could buy the diorama. The Vader and Ahsoka diorama with the base. If that's something you wanted, you could. But it was expensive, but you could buy it there. Element Games Return of the Jedi Trials, run by Jed up in Stockport. Now this was I went to this one. You've seen my report on the channel. This was extraordinarily successful. This has been I think the biggest. Like, Games Expo was big. It passed the 32 mark, I'm pretty sure, from looking on Longshanks. But Element Games was bigger. We had people coming from Poland to play in Element Games. Element Games is it is. It's if you want to play like for my money, the best Shatterpoint player in the UK is Peter McCabe because he won the Element Games GT this year, and that is the premier UK Shatterpoint event. That's the way I see it, because they were the biggest, and so therefore by being the biggest, you've got the strongest field, right? So you've got the biggest chance to prove yourself. So for me, Element Games is the GT with the most prestige. That being said, if your aim is to go to the GT, sneak into top 8 and get those top 8 rewards, Element Games is probably not somewhere that to get into that top 8 bracket, you're going to have to be extremely highly skilled at Shatterpoint. Much more skilled than me, I have to say. Highly recommend anything the Jed runs. He is he is everything you would want in a tournament organizer. It was really good. We got GriffCon, also attended GriffCon. So GriffCon hosted by Griffin Gaming, reasonably close to me in Harlow. Okay, it was a great event. It was really well run, really well managed. It was under attended, right? Didn't hit those 32 players, had 32 seats available, so there could have been 32 players, have the 2 judges available as well, so it could have had that as well, which is pretty cool, but it didn't sell that many tickets. Part of the problem, I've been told by people, it was Friday, Saturday rather than Saturday, Sunday. A lot of people don't want to take their holiday days to go and play Shatterpoint. I don't really live in that space because I'm a teacher and it was in the summer holidays, so I was able to go. I've never had a job where I've had holiday days that I could spend in places. I think if I did, I'd probably spend them to go and play Shatterpoint. But yeah, I understand that was a barrier for some people, not a barrier for me because of my personal situation. I was on the academic summer holidays, right? But it was a great event. I hope it runs again. I would go again. The people there were lovely. And if it did run again, I would certainly promote it more in the run-up, I think. I think one of the other things that I think the GriffCon suffered from was... the guy that runs it, Brendan, obviously has a lot. Like, I look in their Discord, he has a lot going on. He runs a game store. He also has another job, and he does... cadets as well, like army cadets. He's really big into that. He obviously has a lot going on, so he's not in the UK server, the UK Discord server for Shatterpoint. He doesn't have a little room created in there, so those kinds of people didn't know the event was running. There's also apparently a one-day event at Dark Sphere. Now, I just said that Kill Team events... Kill Team? Shatterpoint GTs had to be 2 days. So apparently what happened is the Dark Sphere guys applied for a GT kit. They got turned down. Then a GT kit appeared. So then they decided that one of the events that they had in the calendar that was a one-day event was going to be a GT now. Like, that seems to have been AMG's mistake. So I don't know that much about this Dark Sphere GT or whether you want to count it as a GT or not. Seems to have been a bit strange. So there were 3/4, I guess, official AMG supported GTs in the UK. I believe, like I say, if I've missed one totally, you got to let me know in the comments and I'll post a correction. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I attended 2, Element Games and Griffin Gaming. Had great fun at both. Would attend both again almost in a heartbeat. So 25-26 is a bit of an unknown. The applications process is currently open, so technically nobody knows for sure they're going to be a GT because they haven't gone through the process with AMG. But Jed at Element Games is selling tickets for the event that he will apply for and most likely get GT status. So it's Return of the Jedi Trials, 19th and 20th September, and I could wholeheartedly recommend this in every single way, especially in the context of what we're going to discuss later in this video. If by some calamity the Element Games GT doesn't get GT status from AMG, like it almost certainly will. If it didn't, it's not as if Jed's going to go, oh, I'm cancelling the event, right? It's still going to run, it's still going to be great, it's still going to have a great time there, and it's going to be amazing. Jed's running so many amazing events in the next year because he's running this one in September. He's also running like a 5-day Shatterpoint bonanza at Ardacon, which is a Middle-earth convention in Manchester. Not a GT, I think, because they won't let him as one person run more than one GT in a season, but like that event looks really cool as well. Bit of personal colour to the video. I really want to go to the Element Games GT. My wife really wants to go to the Element Games GT. The ethical dilemma that we have is that the 19th of September is literally our daughter's 4th birthday, and she's just like on... I don't think she'll mind, because she'll be at her grandma's on her birthday. She loves her grandma, she loves her grandma's dog, and we will have a birthday party for her the weekend before or the weekend after. And she's not of an age where she is old enough to want to be doing her own things. So I think we both really want to go to the Element Games GT, especially with what's happened, as we'll learn later in the video, with the UKTC stuff. And the cheap tickets run out at the end of November. So I'm just sort of thinking, oh, should I just buy the... It's not as if I'd have to buy a hotel room either, so I could just buy the ticket. Probably will. UK Games Expo. Don't know there's any Shatterpoint there at all, but if you want to like lightly pencil in the dates in your diary, now I've got a health warning about this later in the video, but if you wanted to lightly pencil in the dates in your diary, their dates are nailed on. The 29th to 31st of May. None of their events are announced yet. I think, from what I can work out from their website, they should be announcing in December what they're doing, because that's when their tickets go on sale. So hopefully there'll be some news on that front too. I hope there'll be Shatterpoint, because last year, like I said, AMG went too, and I have kind of penciled it in, and I've made tentative plans to go. You know, it's quite good. It's the last weekend of when I'm on half-term holiday, so I can actually go on the Friday as well, if something was running then as well. So that would all be pretty cool and pretty possible, and do 3 days, and that would be amazing, but we'll have to see if it's actually possible. Other than those two, like I say, it would be great if GriffCon run again. No idea if they're applying not now or not. I say applications are definitely open. No idea if they're applying now or not. It'd be great if Dark Sphere had like an official one. I think I'm going to go to Dark Sphere in a couple of weeks for a regular store tournament, and you get a tournament report of what I think of them in the venue. It will be great to see Athena Games in Norwich running a GT. They have enough space there, a game store, but they have like a pretty sizable convention-y like hall thing attached to their shop, like a gaming centre, in the same way as Element Games does. They could totally run an event. They could totally run a GT. Now, I've spoken to some of the crew there, and the whole limit in the system is just their access to painted terrain sets, right? If you have to have 16 painted terrain sets for Shatterpoint to run a Shatterpoint tournament, that's the issue. Now, there are ways around that. You can source them from the community. So Jed gives a £5 discount on a ticket for someone who brings terrain. When I used to go to a lot of Kill Team tournaments, they would do things like if you bring a piece of terrain, you'd be entered into the best painted terrain set competition. And so then the judges would go around and the people would vote like which table was the best painted, and the top 3 best painted tables would get some like store credit. Which I think is a good way of getting people to agree to bring their terrain as well. So I think there are ways around that if the people in Norwich wanted to run a GT, and I'd definitely go to that without any hesitation as well. So when is a GT not a GT? And we're going to get into the drama part. So the London Grand Tournament. If you've seen my London Grand Tournament video, you'll understand that there was a problem. Essentially, it advertised itself as an official GT, not just because it's the LGT, GT is in the name, but on the actual page for the Shatterpoint tournament, it called itself a GT as well. It used that verbiage, okay? Now, it didn't have AMG support, it didn't have those prizes. We did get the GT participation prizes. Now, as best as I can work out, that may have been the leftovers from the Dark Sphere GT, because if you think about it, if you run a grand tournament and you get sent a pack, and your grand tournament doesn't hit the 32 players, you're going to give away your first place, second place, third place, fourth place, and top 8 prizes, but you're not going to necessarily give away your all 32 copies of your participation prizes. So I think that's what happened there. I don't know. That's not been confirmed to me. That's my speculation. And I really want to say that I had a great time at the LGT. I played some of the best games of Shatterpoint I've ever played. Right? Closest and most highly skilled games of Shatterpoint I've ever played. And I was really keen to repeat the experience of the LGT, whether or not there was a prize kit. I really wasn't in it for the prizes. Obviously, they're nice, right? Everybody likes to get cool stuff. But, you know, the draw was to go and play some Shatterpoint. So, when is the GT? Nothing at all. So I signed up for the Leicester UKTC Shatterpoint GT, hoping for a copy and paste of the LGT experience, potentially with some upgrades like the prize kit and more than 9 people showing up. But I enjoyed the way the LGT was run. I thought it was great. And I convinced on the back of that at least 4 other people I know to do the same, because you know what it's like. If you go to a tournament, you go, well, this tournament was great, the biggest problem there was only 9 people, and people hear that and they go, well, I like Shatterpoint, then they help you out by signing up, right? So my wife, Major Tom, Oro, Bernhardt, all signed up to come to this event because I said it was good, which annoys me a little bit. And I certainly did this knowing that there was, even though they were advertising a prize kit, I'd been to the LGT, I knew there was a snafu with the prize kits. If it turned out it wasn't an official GT and there was no prize kit, I was fine with that. Right, that didn't really put me off. My wife and I booked a fancy hotel room, we'd sorted out a babysitter, and we were really looking forward to a weekend of Shatterpointing. Right, now, I began to get DMs from someone I know in the Shatterpoint community that something was up with Leicester. There's no prize kit, right? The TO was falling out with UKTC somehow. Numbers were not looking fantastic, but better than the LGT. Well, they ran the LGT. So I'm sitting there thinking, this all might be true, but they ran the LGT. So I assumed it would run, but with no prize kit, no this, no that, no the other, because I assumed a professional organisation like the UKTC wouldn't want to disappoint people, wouldn't want to kind of tarnish its brand, wouldn't want to have to give the money back, right? So, yeah, disaster. I'm going to read the email that they sent me. Hello. I'm sorry to share that due to circumstances outside our control, the Shatterpoint tournament in Leicester has been cancelled. We did everything we could to keep the event running as planned, but on this occasion we're unable to deliver it to the standard you expect. We're working with our partners to add Shatterpoint to the 2026 schedule. You'll receive a full refund. Please reply with your ticket number and we'll process it right away. Thank you for your understanding and supporting the community. If you have any questions, reply to the message. Believe me, I replied to the message. I received nothing back. Now has anybody else. No response on their Discord. One guy who really pushed it on their Discord, potentially a little too much, actually got banned from their Discord rather than get responded to. Right? This is poor. This email is really, really poor. If you're going to cancel an event, ruin plans, and make people financially out of pocket, it's 170 odd quid's worth of holiday in that I've now had to move. So my wife and I are apparently spending our wedding anniversary in Leicester, which Leicester's got stuff. It's got a space centre. It's got Richard III's tomb. There's stuff to do, but it wouldn't be how I choose to spend that money. To be fair. Now, shout out to the people at Holiday Inn. At least they were willing to let me move the dates to a completely different time of the year, right? So I'm going around Easter time. But they couldn't sort me out a refund because, like everybody else these days, I didn't book the hotel at the more expensive refundable rate. Okay? Now, listen, things can be cancelled. I don't want to be read as guy throws toys out of pram because event cancelled. Like, if there's a good reason, if forgiveness is sought, right? If it's like, I'm really sorry, but due to a water leak in the roof, we're having to cancel this. Same thing, same result, same lost hotel money. But I can take that on the chin. I can say, okay, well, fine. You know, they've had to cancel their event. They've lost loads of money. They're not going to pay for my hotel room, and why should they? I can accept that, you know, or one of the people that was going to run it is really ill, or there's been a plague, or if there was something, some reason, some actual good reason that was a reason, I can forgive that. But to just say circumstances outside our control, when I, of course, suspect the circumstances are you didn't have a prize kit, the TO pushed you to kind of tell people, by the way, there's no prize kit, do you want a refund? And then you decided, flip it, we're going to just refund everybody and cancel the event, I would have happily gone. Most people I've talked to would have happily gone with no official price support. It doesn't make any sense. And my vitriol for UKTC is even stronger because they basically don't communicate, right? I popped into their Discord, went to their Leicester GT room, and I asked a perfectly salient question. So if you read their Leicester GT information pack, it says there's no on-site car parking in general, but if you're a blue badge holder, there is disabled blue badge parking. Please call reception from the barrier and they'll raise it for you, right? And so I asked a really sensible question. Hello, I'm a blue badge holder. In the location pack it says this, and I pasted those words. It would be great if the telephone number was included, hoping somebody would either post or DM and be like, hey, yeah, no problem. The telephone number for the venue at Leicester is, 01 whatever it is, right? So I don't drive my car up to a locked gate that I can't get into, and then I'm kind of like, what the flip's the telephone number for the reception for this random student venue place? But no, they couldn't even be bothered, anybody on the Discord, to reply to that, right? And it's not as if the staff don't read the Discord, because they're there reading, like, random esoteric 40k rules queries. Come on, guys. Professionalism at every level. I have to kind of lay into a bit now. So if you look around the UKTC website, first of all, their website's pretty good when it's the black text on white background bit, but if you go into some of the parts that aren't that, you get this ridiculous, I think it's a bit of UK and mostly France at night with all of the electric lights, with white text over it, which is kind of hard to read, but there you go. UK Tournament Circuit, UKTC is the UK's largest and only professional tabletop gaming tournament organiser, setting the gold standard for competitive gaming events. Our mission is simple: to create unparalleled gaming experiences for players of all levels, delivered with professionalism, precision and passion. Right, and if we skim down a little bit more, we can get every UKTC event is meticulously planned and executed, ensuring a fair, high-quality experience that players can trust. Trust to find themselves £170 out of pocket, lads, or trust that they can't get the phone number to access the disabled parking. Like, what am I trusting? What am I trusting, guys? And the bit I've highlighted here is just amazing, right? So under what sets us apart? Professionalism at every level. Our dedicated team brings years of event management, expertise to every tournament, delivering seamless organisation, fair rulings, and premium setups that elevate the gaming experience. What are they dedicated to? Because it's not answering emails or replying on the Discord. Like, what are they doing in their job, in their professional job, where they're employed to do UKTC stuff when there's not physically an event running? What's the thing? What's the job? What's the bit that you do other than just collecting the money? Right? What's the 9 to 5? Walk me through it, guys. If you're going to say we're so professional, so okay, you're so professional, so what's the 9 to 5 that means you can't tell people what's going on? Right? Or tell people the phone number to open the freaking gate to park the freaking car. Doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make any sense. It's funny. It is funny. And I think for the UKTC, they've taken that professionalism and they're trying to wave it as a standard to say, yeah, this is what makes us better than all the other events. And actually they're using it as a shield, and they're going to try and take on all the worst traits of a business, of a bureaucracy, all the things that make something that's a bit corporate worse than something that's genuinely community-led, right? Only going to communicate in working hours. I'm going to be brief. I'm not going to over-explain anything. Those very clipped responses that you only get from slippery businesses that are worried about, oh, if we say that could be interpreted as admitting to this, and then we might be sued. That kind of eel-like way that companies, really big companies kind of operate to try and, like, really kind of get round things and through things. And only ever comply with the bare minimum letter of legal obligations, never with a concern about what's moral, what's right, what's correct. Everything's always that clipped, measured, emotionless sort of, oh yeah, circumstances beyond our control. Tell us. I'd much rather go to a tournament run by an enthusiastic amateur, somebody who cares and runs the event out of love for the game and the community, right? That's the way it should be. Now, it's not to say that tournaments can't be for profit. Of course they can. Most tournaments make some money for the venue, either directly because the venue gets a slice of the take, or indirectly because everybody that goes to the event will buy food, drink, etc. from the venue. That's fine, right? Athena Games, who I've really enjoyed all their events, they the TO there is an employee of Athena Games, works really well, does really well, really enjoy it, right? So it can be done as a profit centre, right? But the best events, like you look at what I just described as the premier Shatterpoint event in the UK, and it's the Return of the Jedi Trials in Stockport, and Jed, who runs that, is not, he has a normal job, totally outside of gaming. He's not making money from running one of the most successful tournaments for the game in the UK, right? And yet I think it was like 60 players or something in the end, or something close to it, right? Might not be right, it might have been more like 38 or something, I think it was in the end, but it was a lot, right? And then we've got the professionalism at every level, UKTC just cancelling things on a dime. And let's just go back, because I'm warming to my subject matter now, okay? Let me just go back to this email. We did everything we could to keep the event running as planned, but on this occasion we were unable to deliver it to the standard that you expect. Now, LGT, 9 players, no official prize support, the event still ran. Nothing I'd heard implied that the Leicester, was going to be worse than that. So if that one was up to your usual high standard, and this one wasn't up to, make it make sense. That doesn't make sense either. Make it make sense. I don't understand what the bar is where London went ahead and Leicester can't go ahead. I don't understand what the chain of logic is, because they haven't written anything. They haven't communicated anything, and they're just treating their customers like an inconvenience, and they're doing the bare minimum to not be, attacked legally. They are complying with the law, and if the best that you can say is, oh, I'm complying with the law, then you're not a good person. You're not a moral person. You're not an ethical person. You're not holding yourself to an actual standard of truth and goodness and righteousness. You're just complying with literally the bare minimum, right? Acting within the law is literally, that's the bare minimum that someone can do, right, in order to, exist in society. Because if you don't do that, you face a punishment for transgression. So a warning, I won't be going to any more UKTC branded events, just at all, because they've really annoyed me. Even though I could totally go to the LGT next year because there's no hotel involved, and if they, if they run the event and cancel it, I won't have lost out any money, but I just can't be supporting them. Now, where this gives me a pause for thought is the UK Games Expo. I really want to go to the UK Games Expo this year if Shatterpoint runs at it. The UK Games Expo is something that I've kind of, even before I got into Shatterpoint, it's been something on my radar that I wanted to look at, that I wanted to do, but apparently it has some connection to the UKTC. I don't quite understand what the connection is. It's not run by the UKTC because UK Games Expo are a separate company. It had prize support because AMG were literally there. They brought it with them on the, with their stuff. They were directly sponsoring the event, in person. I know it shares a TO with Leicester, but none of what I've said should reflect poorly on the I'm going to one of her events, in Swindon in a couple of weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that half of the community is like. And none of what I've said should reflect badly on the TO, because the TOs, at least for these smaller games, they aren't UKTC employees. They aren't part of the professionalism at every level. They're just people that are passionate about the game. They're the people that should be organising the tournament, but they're not. They're called TOs, but when they're working for UKTC, when they're at UKTC, they're just judges. Right? Because they're not responsible for the organisation. They're not responsible for the prize support, the positioning of the tables, all the things like, you know, the fire exits, all these things. They don't actually do that. That's all done by this extra layer that we don't need. We don't need it. So there we go. What do you guys think? I hate making these kinds of videos. I get irritated and fired up, and not my usual calm, centered self. But it does feel justified. But if someone wants to come into the comments and calm down, tell me to calm down, I won't respond badly. Okay, that's fine. As for what's coming on the channel, I should have a TTS back report for tomorrow, and then on the early hours of Saturday/Friday night, I'm going to cover the Warhammer previews as well. Even though we're mostly talking about Shatterpoint these days, I am still interested in those Warhammer previews, so you've got all that to look forward to. Please do subscribe, comment, like, etc., and consider joining the Discord. And I want to say a big thank you to my channel members, but particularly to Alex McKinnery, who remains a top-level supporter of the channel, and I really want to thank him for his ongoing financial contribution. That's amazing, Alex. Thanks. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you again next time. Cheery, 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 cheery. Bye.